From our studios in Atlanta, this is CBT News.
Mark Rikess is the president of the Rikess Group and a contributor to CBT News. We always enjoy having him on, especially when he can join us here in studio. Mark, we appreciate you taking the time.
Joe,
welcome to Atlanta. Yeah, man. Always love having some great content from you, and I know our dealers enjoyed as well. Let's start with this because we're heading into 2018. Times are getting fun because so many changes in the industry. So let's start with this. What is the absolute best dealership structure for online auto sales? Because we certainly see it going that way.
Yeah, the best way to structure is working backwards from the customer. What do the majority of customers want? And then how do I build processes to fulfill those needs? Most dealers don't do it that way. Most dealers look internally and say, what do I want to accomplish? How am I structured internally? Should I give prices out? Should I put prices online? Should I use a BDC? So they're looking at what helps me make better decisions for myself and then build a bridge to the customer. So they're doing it backwards.
And don't they just understand that if they showed a little bit more trust and transparency with putting that stuff online and opening up, saying, we know it's all about you, not us, that things would change?
You'd think,
right.
But the majority of dealers, especially bigger ones, use BDCs. We're very anti-BDC because BDCs withhold information trying to sell cars. It's not nefarious. They just don't. Does my daughter qualify for a first-time buyer program? How long is that incentive on? What's my trade worth? These are questions that people want to have answered, and the BDCs, appointment setters, don't have the wherewithal to do that. So they're withholding information. What we want to do is trade information to satisfy the customers. So you need salespeople with the right skill sets that are trained to handle text, chat, phone, and internet, and be able to fulfill what customers are looking for.
So with that then, let's talk about consumers wanting to buy cars online. That's the big question going into the new year. What do you think?
Oh, I think there's much more demand than dealers recognize. I'll give you some examples. The largest Chrysler dealer in the country is in Kellogg, Idaho, selling over 500 new Chryslers in a town of 4,000 people. It's basically a call center selling cars. So it's a combination of online and call center, but they never see these people. They come in and pick up the cars, and they have actually quite good grosses. Carvana is selling thousands and thousands of cars each month, used cars, sight unseen. If I'd have said a few years ago, they're going to be selling thousands of used cars every month, sight unseen, you'd probably say I was nuts. Yet they're doing it. And I've got a friend who owns about 8 small dealerships in a tiny communities in the New Hampshire, Vermont area. He's delivering over 300 cars remotely a month and has great F&I penetration, great F&I dollars. So the dealers who understand, I want to increase my footprint, I have to be flexible about bringing cars to customers, I have to be transparent and answer all their information, they are going to get a great competitive advantage.
Okay, and there are dealers probably wondering, oh, they use some sort of process. Some vendor is helping them do all of that. And you say, no, they're actually not.
Yeah, Dave Smith Motors, my friend in New England, Carvana. Carvana uses some technology, certainly.
Right.
But those franchise dealers have been doing this for years. So they're just dedicated and making it easy for consumers to buy from them. They're just making it almost Amazon-like to buy.
So once these two dealership groups figured it out, I mean, sky's the limit now, right?
It is. I mean, talk about expanding your footprint. I mean, there's all over the place in their broad areas, and they're dominating the markets. So other dealers can do this. It's, again, the willingness to be transparent, the willingness to market, to be very active digitally, and to have very clear processes on how to take care of customers remotely.
And you mentioned earlier, we asked, do dealers need software to facilitate the transaction?
It's a big help, and yeah, there's some good software packages now and many more coming. So if I were a dealer today, I'd get on a software package as soon as possible to get my learning curve to the point where I can start to dominate as well.
Okay, there is one company out there, we won't mention them, but I'm sure we'll see more at NADA 2018. Okay, so what is the role of sales management as more cars are sold online?
Well, they have to really change their role because today most sales managers are deal managers, not people developers. And in the new world, if you will, they've got to be better at coaching and training. So because if I've got you, I'm talking to you on the phone remotely, I can't say, I'm going to put you on hold and go to my manager and get a price. So they have to empower salespeople, which is uncomfortable for a lot of managers, but really become good telephone coaches, really become KPI, hit their KPI numbers, response time, appointments showed, and really manage in a whole different manner than by a desk.
We're dealing with a lot of internet marketing managers and digital process managers and those type of titles at dealerships now. We're seeing them a lot at conferences and summits and places we go and visit. So what would you say to them if you're in their situation, inundated with, hey, my product works the best, it's going to lead you into the next century or the next year or whatever? What would you say to them about taking the time and finding the right one that benefits them?
Well, there's so many good products out there and services offered by vendors, and it really gets down to references. Dealers in a similar community, a similar size, who are using this particular product, I need to talk to them and maybe even go visit and make sure I'm making the right investment, because there's a lot of good choices out there.
If we had Mark Rikess Auto Group going into 2018, right down the street, what would you do as far as telling dealers coming up on the new year? You know what the media is saying about the market and about new cars and used cars and margin. So what would you do? What are the top 3 things you would make sure that a dealership needs to have done? Obviously, online engagement, and that is important. So that'd be number 1.
The number 2 would be to take cost out of the transaction. There's 1 manager for every 2.5 salespeople in dealerships today. That sounds astounding, but when you count F&I managers, BDC managers, used car managers, count them all. If I have 10 salespeople, I'm going to have 4 managers. 20 salespeople, I'm going to have 8 managers. In an era of margin compression, rising interest rates, lowering SAR, I got to take cost out of it. So I would be looking to go to single point of contact salespeople, can go A to Z in the process, and running with now 1 to 5 managers rather than 1 manager for every 2.5 salespeople, and look at, and possibly salespeople on hourly. 40-hour work weeks create a great environment. Let them sell 10, 12, 14 cars a month, and that takes cost out of the deal. So that's number 1, is I for sure would want to take cost out. Number 2, I'd want to become more proficient at digital marketing. I put my spend, the vast majority of my spend, each market's a little different, into digital marketing, and we should be digital dealerships today for the most part. The internet's the front door of the dealership, and many dealers don't spend enough money on the digital side of marketing.
We hear a lot about closing statements and closing discussions, but that's not necessarily true when we're talking about first impressions. So what would you say about that to dealers?
If there's probably the most important thing I'll share today is that the real close takes place remotely. About 80% of the people are going to contact the store before coming in. Text, chat, phone, internet. How transparent are you signaling? Does the salesperson, can they answer my questions? Are they fulfilling all of my needs in that initial contact? If they do, I'll drive by their competition to get to them because of the way they have established their credibility. And according to driving sales, 39% of consumers will, if they can't get a price, will not consider that dealership as a place to buy a car. So when you've got a BDC or a process established internally that we're not going to give prices out, post prices online, it is costing dealers business.
Thank you for watching the official news source of the retail automotive industry, CBT News.